for the Built Full Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you are on the free Odyssey app. Good Thursday morning. Boomer is out again today. We've got Willie Colon in for Boomer.
Good morning.
Good morning, Willie. What's happening?
Good morning. Happy to be in the passenger seat with you, Gio.
Yes, it's
you look great, by the way.
It's not
golf ready.
Yeah, thank you very much. Color coordinated. I'm hoping that the moisture on the course that I'm planning to play is dried up a little bit later today. So, yeah, that's why I'm dressed a little bit. I got the gray pants along with a gray top. I've already gotten several comments on that already. You don't look like yourself. Well, yeah, you're right. I do not.
What's the normal fit?
Definitely a jeans every day. Anytime I'm wearing any sort of pant outside of a jean, that's a little bit jarring for people around here. You know what I'm saying?
You're not like Doug Funny. You don't have like a consistent go-to.
No. No, I don't wear the same type of shirts, but I definitely wear the same jeans. Like Al Dukes, who's not here today, but he will not wash his jeans. And
why?
He just because it changes the way they fit him and everything else. He will not wash them, and he'll wear them like consistently throughout. Will not wash his jeans.
Stains and all?
Yeah, but he doesn't do much. He doesn't get a lot of stains on him. If he gets a stain on him, maybe he'll just take a little bit of Dawn and a wet paper towel and scrub it out, but he's not throwing that thing in the washing machine.
I'm amazed by Al. Every time I meet him, I hear about him.
Yeah, and then you learn everything about him, and then you're not amazed anymore. Like while you're learning about him, you're like, man, this is crazy. And then when you learn everything, you're like, okay, it's not so crazy. So there's two types of people that go on vacation. There are people who are locked in to their jobs still when they're on vacation, and there's people that unplug, right? So
are you?
I'm a guy who unplugs. Like I actually delete my social media apps while I'm on vacation, so I just don't look at anything. But of course, Boomer is the other way.
Okay,
Boomer, he gets stuff and sees Instagram reels and stories and all sorts of stuff. So he's down in the Dominican. I don't think that he's going to be held at Machete Point like I was. Where
is Boomer a passport, bro?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he goes. He goes around. He goes around. But he's so he's in the Dominican. And because of that, like his phone isn't working the same way as it normally would. So I get a text first from him that says, uh-oh, and then a bunch of dots, dot. And I'm like, what the hell is that?
Right.
So I'm like, I'm just going to wait a little bit to see what goes on. And like 20 minutes later, an article came through that he sent me. And that article was something from the Sporting News that no one else has picked up since.
Only Boom.
But no, I don't think he got tricked by anything. This is a legitimate Sporting News article.
Okay.
But no other NFL insider has co-signed on top of this thing. And then the website that they reference in this Sporting News article is something I had never heard of before. So I tell you this because I proceed with caution, but it is the Sporting News, which we all have heard of.
You got me nervous. Not even 7 o'clock.
And the article is by someone who's been covering the NFL for 14 years. I looked at his bio. So I was like, okay, like maybe this is true, maybe this isn't true. So this is what it was. Arizona Cardinals expected to trade Kyler Murray to QB needy team for coveted first-round NFL draft pick. That is the headline. Now, Adam Schefter didn't go and say anything about this. Ian Rappaport didn't go and say anything about this. Nobody else did. But this guy who wrote the article, whose name is... let me go back to the top. Sean LaBar has been covering the NFL for over a decade. So he puts this out there. Now, the reason why Boomer says, uh-oh, is he's thinking the New York Giants. Well, no, I think more the Giants.
Okay.
I think more the Giants after not getting Matthew Stafford because they are desperate to win some games next year.
Yeah, that whole Stafford thing was nonsense.
Yeah, it feels like now it was. And he wasn't serious about going anywhere because both the Raiders and the Giants gave him massive offers that he should have. If he wanted to leave, he would have said yes.
The Giants are so desperate, they were willing to sell the house. I mean, and at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford was like, do I stop looking at the Pacific Ocean in the sunny days, or do I go to a 3-14 team that's absolutely on fire right now?
Right. There was no way that he was going to
was
look
not
at the
trying to
Giants
start over
as a palatable way to end his career. But for the Giants, like I thought maybe if they came over the top with the biggest deal and he was only concerned about the money at that point because it was his last chance at a big contract, he would consider it. But it didn't happen. So now what do? They obviously don't love the other quarterbacks that much because of what they tried to do with Matthew Stafford. So Kyler Murray, you cannot – I don't dislike Kyler Murray. A lot of people hate on Kyler Murray. I don't dislike him, and I think he had a decent season last year. And I remember watching him against the Vikings and being impressed in that game. I said, man, he looks more accurate and more in control of the offense than I've ever seen him before. And that's one game.
Sure.
But you cannot trade the third overall pick for Kyler Murray, in which it suggests here, coveted first-round pick for Kyler Murray. You can't do that. That's insane. But if he is available, and this is something that gained some steam in the sporting news, and this guy seemed to be on top of it before anybody else, or maybe it ends up getting squashed. If you heard that tomorrow, that the Giants were trying to acquire Kyler Murray, would you say good or uh-oh, like Boomer said from the Dominican?
No, for me, it's good because they don't have an answer right now. And there's no heir apparent to Daniel Jones. The whole situation seems like Joe Sheehan and company, they're extremely desperate, as I mentioned. I mean, if you're going into the draft and let's say you do get a Shedeur Sanders, you're still talking about a kid that's going to need time and be acclimated and kind of, get birthed into the NFL. And he's coming to the table with things, right? He's not as athletic, but extremely accurate, was sacked a lot in college. And there's a lot that comes with him, obviously, off the field. But nevertheless, if you got a chance to get a Kyler Murray, now you're talking about a guy who's played, seasoned, can definitely step into the offense and be productive right away. And it's a boost on the offensive side of the ball. So I never had a problem with Kyler Murray. I think a lot went into him playing video games and him, his contract situation and all that other stuff. I liked Kyler Murray. So
yeah, I think he got a bad rap early because him and that Cliff Kingsbury regime.
It's never worked out.
Fighting on the sidelines and everything else. And
which coaches and players fight on the sideline?
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, for God's sakes, Travis Kelce basically
pushed Andy Reid.
Yeah, I mean if that.
But on top of that, when Kyler was thrown into when he was able to get back on the field this season. He was money good. Like I remember the game against the Jets, man. I mean, he came out throwing that thing. And in the 1-2 combination between him and James Conner, I liked everything that he was able to do this season. So you talk about having a quarterback that's still fairly young, has played a lot of football, and still has that winning edge. Why not? Why not take a shot at him? But there's a lot of teams that can use a Kyler Murray.
Yeah, but see, you think so, but I don't think that list is that long because I think it's the same list that was out there for Matthew Stafford. Because if you really go through it,
there's 4 teams that need a legit quarterback.
The
plug
Jets,
and play quarterback,
right?
Now.
The Jets and Giants for
Steelers,
sure, right?
Raiders,
the Steelers and the Raiders, yeah. So those are the 4 teams.
Dare I say the Vikings if they figure it out?
Well, but they drafted a guy number 10 overall.
Yeah, who's dealing with a bum knee that people are now kind of getting a little worried about.
Yeah, but they have options. They love Daniel Jones, and they could bring back Sam Darnold. I don't think that
they're
they
not
would.
Bringing back Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I didn't think that they would, but if you're telling me that J.J. McCarthy could maybe not be healthy and no one else wants to pay Sam Darnold that money, like where's he going to go?
Well, Sam Darnold right now, I think they didn't tag him. They had an opportunity to do it yesterday. They didn't do it. Now I think this team is preparing for the McCarthy era. The problem is that you still need a veteran in the building who's going to be a bridge quarterback. And that's what they're searching for.
Yeah, but I think that their plan would be, if he's healthy, to start him next year. Like I just they want to have that rookie quarterback contract and then build around that because a lot of GMs have had success with that. So like the CBSSports.com this morning has like a guess an agent's take on what these guys are going to be asking for.
Okay.
Tell me what team, and this is the agent's take, so this is not a former GM's take. Tell me what team is going to give Sam Darnold $127.5 million for 3 years, $42.5 million per year, and overall guarantees of $90 million after those last 2 games. What team's doing that?
Well, first of all, you got to think about a team that can afford to do that. And the team that pops off in my mind is the Raiders.
Yeah, Raiders have
They have $92 million.
Yeah, a lot of teams have cap space. The Raiders being one of them. Does Pete Carroll, USC connection, want to do that? I mean, that's a possibility, but
you also have to, with Sam, you have to attract more talent.
Yeah,
who wants to come play alongside Sam?
Yeah, they got a terrible roster out there.
Not good.
Yeah, so I mean that doesn't seem like something that would work, but
the Chris Godwins of the world are still out there. You talk about
Devontae Adams.
I don't know if he wants to go back to the Raiders, but
yeah. Well, yes, but for teams, that's true. He would not go back to the Raiders, but he could easily be an option for a team that's looking for weapons. But yeah, and T Higgins right now doesn't look like. I mean, that's not going to happen. He's either going to play for the Bengals on the franchise tag, or they're going to
trade. If I'm jump out there, I think they're going to trade.
Yeah,
they need more pieces. I know Joe Burrow's like, well, and there's this running narrative like, well, if the Eagles could sign all their guys, I'm like, yeah, but you understand, the Bengals are horrible on defense. Like horrible. Yeah. I think they were like 3-8 in one-score games, 2-something against playoff teams. I mean, they're bad. Valid, you have Joe Burrow and you have Jamar Chase, but the only reason why Jamar Chase was because of T Higgins, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're saying if you're going to take away T Higgins, you're going to have to get more pieces on the defensive side of the ball to complete this team, to make this team competitive at all.
Right, to fire that defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, that everybody absolutely loved and was the Chiefs' kryptonite for a number of years, and Patrick Mahomes couldn't do anything against his defenses, all of a sudden gets fired like it's his fault.
And they're letting go of more guys. Von Bell's going to be gone.
Yeah.
You're talking about Jermaine Pratt's going to be gone.
He complained about it. He wanted to get traded, too.
Right. They let go of one of their top guards in Alex Kappa, so it's like, you got to build this team up, but you need money to do so.
Yeah, so this is why this is kind of a shaky type of report here for me, because I don't want to totally dismiss it, but at the same time they also put in here, and tell me, Fleegs, you're all over everything. I mean, this guy is he's burrowing holes in NFL news.
God.
He lives in the NFL
I know,
news
he's
ground
probably,
like a groundhog.
He's probably greasing himself, getting ready for Tyler Warren to get dropped off somewhere.
So it's TWSN. So I click on this, TWS. So in this Sporting News article, it says TWSN believes the New York Giants will trade their first-round pick for Murray in a move that would send shockwaves to the NFL. So I click on TWSN. What is that? The Right Way Sports Network? So I'm like, I've never heard of this. So I go on X and I find the Right Way Sports Network, and it's got 7,000 followers. So what am I to make of this thing? Is this just something that some guy is throwing out there because the NFL news was a little bit slower? But it wasn't slow yesterday. You had the Max Crosby thing, you had the DK Metcalf thing, you had a bunch of things.
I think it's a great throw in the water. It causes ripple effects, right? At the end of the day, we talked about 4 teams that legitimately need a quarterback, and the Steelers are one of them. Imagine, and the Steelers, I think they're 17th on the draft board.
Yeah, maybe. So do you think, is this legitimate at all?
I would say probably not, but and there was news yesterday, but there wasn't quarterback news. I think Willie's right. You just throw something out there.
Yeah.
7,000 followers. Is this a blue check? Because if it is, it's probably one that's paid for. So he's throwing something out there and hoping hey, there have been rumors about Kyler. Maybe I'll get lucky.
There's
and
two
the next
parts
4
of
days
this,
there'll
though.
be a trade.
There's 2 parts of this. So the TWSN one believes he'll be traded to the Giants. The Sporting News, though, that's the one that says expects, Cardinals expect to trade Kyler Murray to quarterback-needy team for first overall pick. So that's them. And then they say TWSN, this thing I never heard of in my life, they expect it to be the New York Giants. Okay, duh. Just anybody could say that,
That's
right?
I would toss out the TWSN one. The Sporting News one, you have to put a little bit into because it's a legitimate outlet, and maybe whoever put it out there from Sporting News heard something at the Combine. That's more of a, hey, this could happen. The TWSN one and it being the Giants, I would throw that seems like somebody saw the Sporting News and said,
right.
Willie, I'm going to make my guess. This is the prediction and throw it out there, just throwing something out and hoping to be
Well,
right.
Let me ask you this. What team would shock you? Out of the 4, what team
the way the Steelers do business, I would be shocked if they traded their 17th. If anybody traded their number 1 overall pick this year, their first-round draft pick, rather, this year for Kyler Murray, that would totally shock me.
New regime, Omar Khan, new GM.
Yeah, but he's been there forever, man. I had lunch with that guy when I was in Pittsburgh.
Omar was my
GM. No,
he was my GM. He was handling my contract.
He was the cap guy.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there at Southside facility cafeteria with Bert Loughton and
Shout out Bert.
Yeah, and
My guy.
and Kevin Colbert and Omar Khan sat down. I didn't know who he was, and then they sat down and introduced me to Omar Khan's like, this is our cap guy, blah blah blah, and then like a few years after that, there were other teams that were trying to poach him away, and then they made him the GM in waiting and everything else. So I don't feel like it's a new regime really, but the Steelers, like I can't see Omar Khan going up to Art Rooney and saying to him, like, hey, I'm going to trade our first round pick for Kyler Murray. I'm going to take on this contract for the next couple of years, which is, that he's making. So the cap hit. See, this is the big problem. The cap hit on his contract is $43 million next year, and then $53 million the next year. Now these things can get restructured.
Yeah, those things get chopped up and tossed around,
right?
in different ways.
I don't look at that as prohibitive anymore after the Broncos did what they did with Russell Wilson and the Jets did what they did with Aaron Rodgers. Teams are just like saying, "Screw it, we'll figure it out and take these cap hits." But I don't know. I don't see the Steel. I mean, I don't see the Giants. I see the Giants doing it for like a third round pick.
I think a surprise team in my head that pops up, and maybe I can be absolute bonkers, is the Saints.
Yeah, no, that's not crazy at all. But isn't that, we're talking NFC to NFC, but West to South. Giants are also NFC. Yeah, I mean, it would be, yeah.
What would surprise you more, if the Steelers were able to get Kyler Murray or sign Aaron Rodgers?
Oof. Kyler Murray, actually.
Really?
Yeah, because I saw them do what they did with Russell Wilson last year. It'd be a similar thing. It's like we bring in Aaron Rodgers.
See, I don't think it's a similar thing. Well, I think if they're able to get Aaron Rodgers, it's a good bridge if you feel like you got to go get a quarterback next year in the draft. And talking about a guy who, the last 10 games, you're talking, 18 touchdowns? I think we got like 11 or something. I forgot his interceptions were, what they were. But he was a lot more mobile, especially when they put Fashion on at left tackle. And he can still throw the ball. And, one of the issues with Russell Wilson is he can't throw in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Rodgers doesn't have those issues. He'll sling it to anything and everyone, and anywhere, rather. So
when I say it's a similar thing, it's a similar thing. It's a veteran who has come in that you'd pay $1.2 million for 1 year. So, like, they've already gone that route with their team. Maybe not from X's and O's, it's a similar thing.
Sure.
But they already brought in that big personality type guy into their team for 1 year.
You got to remain competitive in that division.
Yeah. I mean,
they weren't able to compete in the last 4 games of the last season because they just didn't have competent and elite quarterback play.
Yeah, and
against really good teams.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, I'd love to be a fly on the wall with, thinking about this, hearing Joe Shane and Brian Daboll talk about this, like after the Matthew Stafford thing falls apart. Like, do they think that Kyler Murray could save their jobs? Do they think that bringing him in, trading for him, and then using that, because you would not trade the third overall pick, and using that third overall pick on one of these other top players, whether it be, Travis Hunter or the edge rusher or the tackle out of LSU or any of those things to make the team better, did they think that'll save their jobs?
That's a good question.
And that is and I don't, and I know he loves a mobile quarterback. Kyler is built completely differently than Josh Allen.
He's a small guy.
Yeah.
And with an enormous head. He has a head like a mascot.
He does.
But he could play football.
I mean, people always do those things on X where they make him look like a little person, And
it's real life.
And it's not far off, And then you're like, am I supposed to laugh at this or not? I'm not. I don't know if I'm allowed to.
I've been around him twice, and great guy. Seems like he carries himself extremely well. But he has a head like a Lego figure.
Yeah,
he looks like a Lego figure.
And how tall is he actually? Was he listed at?
From an eye test from afar, he seems like he's about 5'10". 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a little person at 5'10", right?
Yeah, you can.
Like if you were meant to be like 6'10", is that how that works?
I don't know. It looked like God sawed him off at the knees. He's not a tall guy.
Yeah. Let's see.
But he gets it done. I mean, he can throw the football.
They got him listed at 5'10".
Yeah.
And you'd feel like he projects smaller than that. Like Bryce Young's 5'10", Russell Wilson's 5'11". You think Kyler Murray, he's got to be shorter than those guys, but he's not.
No, because his head gives him inches. That damn head is enormous.
So it's like an optical illusion type of thing. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like there's certain guys, like no matter how much weight they lose, if their head size remains the same.
There's nothing worse than somebody drops a bunch of LBs and their head just protrudes out.
Yeah, it looks the same, and then you're like, man, like.
And there's no haircut that changes that either.
And
it's like, a big ass head.
Like I know you lost all this weight, and I'm happy for you, but you look the same to me because your skull, you didn't lose mass from your skull.
Yeah,
you know?
I didn't Barry Bonds it either. I didn't grow a couple inches. I just.
Right. So that's some NFL stuff. I also got some really interesting Sauce Gardner things I want to throw at you a little bit later as my worlds collided, and I saw Sauce Gardner on a YouTube golf video. And
he's a golfer, huh? I heard he's big into golf right now.
He just started. He started last year in June of 24. So he's got a long way to go, like most people who just start.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about golf, you could play forever, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
So he's just starting out.
Yeah. But I heard he's into like buying new clubs and all this other stuff.
He's really.
He's got the buck. Yeah.
And he also has like all the phrases that everybody says, when they hit the ball. Like, oh, I pulled it, or sit down, or, slice that one, hit that off the toe. Like he's doing all the stuff. So he's really into
none of that.
But he said a couple of really interesting Jets things yesterday that I don't think a lot of people are on. I don't think people are paying attention. And I'm paying attention because I'm a sicko when it comes to this stuff. When these videos come out, I watch. So I'm paying attention.
Okay.
So what you're going to see today now is, this is what Boomer says. We're going to talk about it. Then there's going to be headlines all over the place.
Gotcha.
What he said.
Okay.
Trying to figure out some of these things, some of these codes he threw out there in this video. All right, Boomer and Gio with Willie in for Boomer this morning. We'll have a Jerry Recco update in just a couple of minutes. Just getting started on this Thursday morning.